Happy Monday, our audiences. While Virginia and other parts of the East Coast are shut down, and over there in Detroit, we got some snowy weather that happened last night. I have the honor that Donna and I decided to show up and share some information. And our topic is about caregivers as it relates to travel and making space to reset. So thank you, Donna, for being here with me today.
Thank you, Terry, for inviting me to join you. And we got our snow previously today. It is just frigidly cold.
It is the same here. We had flurries. We had flurries. My granddaughter was like, Yee, it's not as much snow as I thought it would be. I said, I know, baby, no snow angels this time around.
Too cold to go
Yes,
out there and make them anyway.
that right there. That
It's
right there.
dangerous. It's dangerous out there. But thank you for
Yes,
having me. I appreciate it. I'm
you're
interested
welcome.
in having this conversation with you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you for being here with me. Well, I said your name and you're a legacy strategist, but tell me a little bit about yourself before we go through the interview questions. I just want to know, who is Donna?
Hmm. Well, professionally speaking, because we don't want to talk about all those other personalities, I am a retired business attorney and former caregiver. For 12 years, I was a caregiver. For 20 plus years, I practiced as an attorney. I don't practice as an attorney anymore, but these days I still focus on serving. I was practicing in business and probate, and I'm still serving the same community, working with business owners, just in a different way, and families. And because I was a caregiver, I am particularly interested in supporting business owners who are caregivers.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And as being the owner of Harmony 818 Travels and a supportive caregiver myself, I personally have a heart for other caregivers because I know how important it is to get away. And so what about, so you got time for me to ask you some questions here? You ready
Well,
for it?
that's why I'm here. Yes, I've got my nice warm cup of coffee. Let me take a sip and get ready.
All right. So, how did you become a caregiver, Donna?
Um, Initially, my mother um, was the person I was caring for. She, like a lot of people, probably, I got a phone call one day that a friend said she was having trouble finding her way to a church she'd been driving to for 20 years, and that was kind of the reality check. Where okay, yeah, it's not just moms forgetting things. We Houston, we have a problem. Yeah,
Mm.
that was the beginning. And I'm an only child. And later, I wound up also caring for two of her sisters who didn't have children. And I knew that was going to come to me. I just didn't know I was going to have them all under my roof.
I'm so glad they had you. I'm glad that you were present and in an area that you could have been able to bring them all in your home. So that's a blessing. That is a blessing. During that season, what did day to day life realistically look like for you, especially when you had all three of them at the home at the same time?
Yeah, it all happened in stages. But by the time I got to that stage, I had to have help. I couldn't care for them by myself. I literally set up a home care, adult foster care home, so that I could have 24-hour support to care for them. And so that in the event something happened to me, since I was the only thing between them and the streets, so to speak, there would be somebody else in place to take care of them. So not just the caregivers, but I set up a business and I brought in a business partner who stayed involved with everything that was going on, so that in case something happened to me, there was a plan in place and somebody with authority to run the business, take care of them, and make sure they got to their next living location if that was going to be necessary.
That's smart, Donna. I I would not have been able to think like that, you know. So that was. Do you think that some of the years of you being an attorney in business and probate helped you with that, or during the course of the time as you were caring for your mom, you just did your research? How did you know to do that?
Well, definitely. That was all like built in. I've been doing planning. Everything I've ever done is about planning, planning for businesses, planning, and I've done some estate planning as well. So planning is the crux of what I've been doing. But that idea didn't come to me until I realized it's like, wait a minute, these women are approaching 90 years of age. And the only reason I was able to bring in the 24-hour care was because all of their incomes were coming together to give me what I needed to be able to pay for that kind of care, right? But if one of them were have passed away, there wouldn't have been enough money to keep that going. So the idea came to me, I need to go ahead and bring in other people. So I set up a home. It's like, let me just go ahead and make this a business, bring in other people so that I can care for them until the end, because my goal was, they were actually the crux of my family. They were the people that made my life work. They saw me through college and helped me do what I wanted to do. And as a matter of fact, one of my aunts said, when I called her and said I needed money for speakers in my first year of college, she's like, okay, I'll send you the money. Just make sure you take care of me in my old age. I'm like, you got it. Okay. I did not know what I was signing up for, but so I knew I wanted to take care of them until the very end.
That's good.
And I wanted them to be healthy and have fun. So it's like, how can I make sure that they are going to have a good quality of life to the end? We got to have these caregivers. Let's bring in other people and set up a business. So that was how it started. But it was also, I had people on my own estate planning documents, but who's going to take care of them if something happens to me? That's when I brought in the business partner who started with me at the beginning, and she was at our staff meetings and all that, and knew everybody, and she was ready to step in the event that something happened to me. And that is the kind of planning, not to that degree, because not everybody has the circumstances I had, but that's the kind of planning I'm encouraging everybody to do. Think ahead.
Oh,
Think ahead.
I love that. I love that. So when caregiving responsibilities increased, Donna, how did your relationship with rest or personal time change?
Um, I can't believe it's been years and I still get really emotional on this topic. It took my life over. So I would just say it changed a lot, even with one caregiver there at all times. I'm still the person doing the grocery shopping, the pharmacy runs, the doctor visits, the emergency visit, everything else. So, like anybody who's been a caregiver or who is currently a caregiver, you learn quickly that you kind of start to come last. And I was still trying to work. I was still working a little, but it changed a great deal. It changed a great deal, and it affected my health a great deal.
Oh wow. Oh
And
wow.
that is common. There are statistics about the number of caregivers who pass away before the people that they're caring for from the stress of it. It is real. And a lot of the stress is mental, especially with people who have dementia, because it's like they're there, but they're not there. And that messes with your mind and emotions on a daily basis, So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't had it. I haven't experienced that myself personally, but I know there are some people, digital content creators, that I guess they weren't digital content creators, but because they needed an outlet, being a caregiver of a family member with dementia, they use social media as their outlet with respect and dignity to their family member, but a way to release. And in that, they let us in their life a little bit, and I was able to see some of that, but still, as somebody looking in, it's not the same as experiencing it. So I my hat's off, and God bless you
can I
for
just
all
say
the things
something
you do.
about that though?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
Donna.
Caregiving can be very isolating. Um, it is you can't get around like you used to if you're caring for somebody with dementia, specifically dementia and Alzheimer's, and those numbers are going up. So
Mhm.
people who reach out for community, I think that is a very healthy thing to do. I reached out and joined a business brainstorming, no, not mastermind group, when
Oh.
I was trying to set up the adult foster care home. And that group of women turned out to be very beneficial to me emotionally.
Mm.
Emotionally.
That's good. That's good. Um, what had to shift for you to wait a minute? I almost skipped the question here. At any point, did the idea of taking time away or a vacation feel impossible? Or did you reach a moment where you realized stepping away was actually necessary?
Both.
Elaborate. Elaborate.
um, my whole caregiving journey was 12 years with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
The last 5, I had my aunts with us.
Mm-hmm.
When that happened, there was no getting away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yes, I found caregivers. There were 3 shifts. There was always somebody there, supposedly, but caregivers have children who get sick. They have cars that don't work. They have their own lives, their own health, things that come up. Regularly, they would suddenly just not show up for a shift, and then it was on me.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no getting away until finally I got someone to take on the role of kind of like a home manager, and she managed the schedules for the caregivers. And after she'd been doing that for about a year, she said, you really need to take a vacation. And she took on scheduling them and agreed to be the person to be there if somebody didn't show up. So that was when I was able to get away. But that was 3 years into the 5-year part of the journey with them before I was able to take any time away.
Okay.
And what was the second part of that question?
I think you answered it. You
Did I?
c- because you said that it was hard in the beginning until you got the house manager to help juggle. But then, even when you had that extra help, it was sort of her encouragement to sort of say, "Hey, look, Donna, I'm here. You should get away."
Yeah. Yeah, she did. It didn't feel like I should be leaving. And honestly, I didn't think a vacation was going to do any good.
Uh oh.
It was wrong. It didn't make a difference.
So where'd you go?
I just went to visit my daughter. My daughter was living in the what's that area? The Maryland, Virginia, what's it called?
DMV?
The DMV. She was living in the DMV area. And I hadn't gotten to go and visit her since she moved there. So I went
Okay.
to spend a few days with her, and it it was great. It made a difference. It it was needed. And as a travel person, I'm encouraging anybody listening that's a caregiver to find a way to get away. It matters.
So let me bring it back to perspective for those that may be watching or catch the replay. You had been caregiving for your mom for up to 3 years at this time, just nonstop, and you had not actually left to take away. And then when you did, you went to go visit your daughter in the DMV. Now, during that particular time frame, had you been able to see your daughter, or was more of the time focused on just poured into your mom and your aunties versus being able to have that extra time with your daughter too?
Well, no, I'd only seen her if she came to where we
Okay.
were. I had
Okay.
not been away anywhere, and it was the getting away that was the real gift.
Okay.
Um, yeah, it was the getting away, and using and having the person who was taking on the role as home care manager um, made that possible for me. Did I answer your question?
Yes. So
Okay.
when you went away to your daughters, what were some of the good memories that you had, or when you went there?
See, you're gonna make me cry. Um, it was the thing I remember the most is there was this huge hill behind the apartment complex where she lived, and I got out and I went for a walk. And walking outside in nature is the thing that helped me keep my sanity the whole time that I was a caregiver. Being out in nature like saved me.
Mm.
But I was always leaving in the area, it was always still present. But being on that hill behind her complex, knowing that I didn't have to take care of anybody else that evening or look out for any. I remember breaking down in tears halfway up the hill as the sun was coming through the trees. That's the moment I remember bigger than anything else because it was just such a relief. So even though I didn't take a spa trip or, a cruise, that was really special for me. That's the moment I remember most. Of course, I remember spending time with my daughter, but that was the emotional release moment I remember most.
I I want you to find the time to catch the replay on this, because I saw your face light up so much when you were talking about that hill, and being able to walk up and to remember, even though you said you were shedding tears, the smile came on your face because it was also like that release of letting go of all that had been built up. And being a travel agent, I get to hear the stories of my clients when they come back from different things, and your reaction is no different than someone who went on that cruise or went to that island or went across an international flight and went to that bucket list place. You expressed the same emotion that they expressed, and you just went some miles away to the East Coast from Michigan to to hang out with your baby girl. So that's so exciting. That gave me chills too, Donna. Um, for caregivers who feel overwhelmed by the idea of planning a vacation, what would you want them to understand about working with a travel professional instead of trying to manage everything on their own?
Mm. There is an emotional weight to caregiving. And there's this thing, I don't know what it's called, but the brain has only so many decisions it can like make during a day before it gets fatigued.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to planning travel in the midst of caregiving, all I can say
Mm-hmm.
is this. The only thing that the home manager did for me was she narrowed down the flight options for me. So I didn't have to start just out there looking. And that was such a gift. Just here are the best three options for you. And it was less decision making to do. And like I said, it felt like a gift. So I'd say it would be wise to do, get all the help you can. Um, and it makes the journey feel more special if you don't have to slog through all the details on your own. I mean, the flight was the only detail I had, but I was glad I didn't have to start from zero. So
Mm.
I'd say I'd say you offer a very valuable service, and you're a valuable resource to caregivers, especially since it's not like they pay extra for the services, right? It's included in the travel. um
Yes.
so yeah.
Yes. It's about giving that time back because you're right. Your time as a caregiver was valuable. And not saying other clients don't have responsibilities and their time is not valuable either, because it is. But when you're a caregiver, your time is stretched a little bit more than others. And every moment that you have extra, you need that to recharge. And I heard you say that sometimes you would take still away those few moments just to take a break, to walk in nature near the home, that you were still close enough to get back to your family, but you took that minute away to just say, okay, woosah, and get back. So when you came back from the time away with your daughter and you came back home with your family, how did you feel?
Lighter. My head was clearer, refreshed, definitely smiling more. It made a difference, and that I did not think it would, because none of my circumstances had changed. But it made a difference. Made a difference.
Thank you for sharing. So, having personally navigated caregiving alongside estate related decisions, what did that experience teach you about the importance of planning ahead before a crisis hits?
Mm. Um, I already knew that, but I will say, for the benefit of anybody listening, planning is critical. So I knew I was going to be the caregiver for the three of them. I had made sure that they had their estate planning documents done years before, and they had been updated probably a couple of times by the time I became caregiver, because those documents need to be updated to stay
Okay.
fresh enough and recent enough for financial institutions to respect that they are live and legitimate. Um, so it didn't necessarily teach me about planning, but I like to say it enabled me to take over without drama, without the courts. I was able to do everything I needed to do for each of them. I was able to sell two condos in Florida because I moved my aunts up at separate times, had to sell their homes, and enabled me to deal with their doctors and their social security and everything without having to go to court. And the documents aren't a guarantee. They aren't a guarantee you won't have to go to court. As a matter of fact, something that happens a lot is people with dementia, they will do things that cause problems because they still have legal authority. And I did have to get guardianship over one aunt because while she was still in Florida, a family member, a distant family member from her deceased husband's side, stepped in and got new estate planning documents done, which nullified the ones I had had done. And I had to
Mhm.
go to court to scrape her off and get rid of her to set up a
Mhm.
guardianship because my aunt gave her authority. She forgot. She wasn't in her, correct mind. So, it's not a guarantee, but it certainly does make a difference. And the trust planning means that even after they've passed away, you can have control over whatever might need to um, be retitled or whatever might remain, um, to try to avoid guardianship. So I just want to say guardianship can be necessary, but planning up front can avoid it in most circumstances. I think, did I answer your question? I know on that
Yes,
topic, I went lawyer mode. I'm sorry.
it's okay. It's in you. It's part of who you are, Donna. So, but
But
it
I
did lead me to ask you another question
sure.
because you had one up. You had one up on what a lot of people may not be familiar with day in and day out. That's why you go by the legacy strategist. So, do you feel that, I don't want to assume, but do you feel that your experience helped you relate more with clients or potential clients?
Um, well, only when it comes to people who are caregivers. I mean, I have a definite. If you haven't been through caregiving, you don't know what it is, and it's not the same really as raising children. There's a different emotional load to it.
Mhm.
Um, so in that sense, yes, which is why I say that I'm supporting business owners, especially women who are caregivers, because they have a special load. It's emotional, it's financial, it's physical, um, and I know what it's like, and want to help support them through that. I like to say, like in February around Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, I tend to put out an email that's titled "Show Love for the People Who Would Show Love for You." Get your estate planning done. If there are people who would step up and look after you in the event that you weren't able to look after yourself, you have a car accident, you can't
Mhm.
manage your family, your finances, or your business for a period of time, who has legal authority to just take those papers and go in and keep things going for you, as opposed to having to figure out guardianship, go to probate court, pay the fees, have the hearing, report to a judge. Show love for the people who would show love for you and get those documents done, the basic thing. And I need to say this too, because lawyer mode. So many times I say estate planning and people think you've got to have a lot of assets. So let me break it down what I mean. I mean a healthcare power of attorney, a financial power of attorney, and a will at the very least. And maybe you need a trust. Trust is usually ideal for most people, and then a document that would transfer your real estate automatically on your passing, if there's no one else on that deed with you. That's how I started doing probate work. People needed their property transferred after somebody died, no one else's name was on the deed. Got to open probate for that. So I'm sorry I had to go there.
No, somebody needed to hear that. I mean,
It's part of my message. I talk about estate planning probably more than anything else all the time. I know
it,
I ask everybody, have you done your basic estate planning? Have you gotten your estate planning done?
but it makes sense because I've mentioned that I'm a supportive caregiver, but some people aren't in the position that they care for others, but you never know when you may need to care for someone else. So that's why it's important to, yes, we're talking about taking those breaks and having time to reset, but having things in order is just as important. to make sure that there's not further stress or further things to worry about down the line. And I thank you for staying with me. And I have one more question uh, as we close. For caregivers or families, Donna, who are listening or may listen to the replay, who may need support with estate planning, legacy decisions, or navigating major life transitions, what's the best way for them to connect with you and start that conversation?
Thank you for asking. My website would be the best way. It is living solutions livingsolutions.life. No, it's livingsolutions.com. I'm sorry.
No problem.
And no, livingsolutions.life. I'm getting mixed up. But I just want to say this. I'm hosting an event. I started a series because the things that we're talking about right now, the things I'm talking about around estate planning and what if, are conversations people really don't like to have. So I started a series calling Why We Don't Talk Money and the Family Life Impact, to
Mm.
get people to have these discussions. It's a discussion setting, it's a discussion Zoom, not a presentation. I'm not talking about products or services. It's really just designed to get people to think about these things. And if you go to my website, livingsolutions.life, at the very bottom of the page, of the home page, there is a link to the next two events that are coming up. If anyone would care to join, one is this Thursday, and then the following Monday. Um, and it's an ongoing series that I think is important to try to get people to talk about the things they don't want to talk about.
Well, thank you. And I thank you for coming on my platform and to be able to talk about some things that I feel that people don't always get to talk about as far as caregiving, travel, and making space to reset. I did put your website in the comments so that those who do watch on YouTube or Facebook, they will have that information as well. So Donna, I appreciate you for taking your time out on this frigidly cold Monday to talk with me and uh, represent your company. And
You're
thank
welcome.
you.
Thank you for inviting me. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later.
Bye.